More of my series here, third part of trying to cut through the noise of the first couple of weeks of the Trump administration. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of stuff they're doing. That's the strategy, by the way. It goes by the name Flood the Zone. But in the previous two videos, and continuing here, I've tried to focus on what is truly consequential, what could do long-term damage to our republic and change the face of our democracy, possibly forever. In the first video, I explained how the pardoning of the January 6th thugs set a precedent and set up a system by which individual leaders could recruit political gangs, unleash them on their enemies, and then legally excuse them, further solidifying personal loyalty. In the second video, I talked about the danger of Trump personalizing the law enforcement and legal powers of the federal government to target perceived enemies. This video is an extension of that one. Trump and his administration have taken several unprecedented actions since taking office to purge anyone that they perceive as disloyal or insufficiently committed to Trump personally and/or the MAGA movement. And a purged federal government is more likely to serve Trump's whims, no matter what the legality or propriety. Recall that in the last video, I described how the Attorney General, the federal government's top law enforcement officer, serves at the pleasure of the president. In other words, the president can fire that person at any time for any reason. Most of the top-level jobs in the executive branch are like this, and for the most part, that's appropriate. After all, a president should be able to choose his staff. However, as I described, there's a wrinkle with the AG. Being in charge of the Justice Department, the Attorney General is supposed to stick to the law, not selectively pursue it or enforce it, according to the president's personal agenda. Personal agenda, mind you, as in targeting personal perceived enemies, not the country's agenda. The idea that some of the country's business is best handled by impartial, non-political employees is the idea behind what's called the civil service. The civil service is made up of professionals who have experience in their area or some expertise, or it's for workers who are just doing a job, with that job really not having any impact on politics. Think postal workers or the people who handle Social Security checks. Pretty straightforward, right? But also think of the lawyers enforcing our laws, or policing the actions of the various agencies. Laws are supposed to be applied impartially. The lawyers in the Justice Department are supposed to do that. Within the various departments, like the Treasury Department or Justice or Homeland Security, there is also a job called Inspector General. These people are like internal police, like internal affairs in police departments. They investigate wrongdoing from within the agency, by the agency, and release what are regarded as impartial reports. Well, the Trump administration has fired more than a dozen career lawyers at the Justice Department because they were part of the team helping the federal January 6th and election interference cases. He has also fired about 17 inspectors general. The idea here is that he can install people that he thinks will back him up, either by bringing the law down in the way he personally likes or by allowing actions by the departments and agencies that he wants to see. This was a purge. Call it a hard purge, because there's also a soft purge underway. The administration is offering buyouts to any federal employees that want to leave by September. If you think you're in for grief for any reason, you'll likely get out. In the end, we'll have a less professional, less independent, more personally loyal to Trump federal government. Hey, maybe we'll be okay, at least during Trump's administration. And maybe future presidents, and unless things get really dark, there will be future presidents. Those future presidents are going to walk back from having this kind of power. Back in yesteryear, presidents and parties could hand out gobs of federal jobs under the patronage system. All presidents had to deal with this. Some people obviously were good employees in that system, but also many others were just political hacks who were no good at the roles they landed. Finally, in 1871, people had had enough and established the civil service, trying to bring skill and competence, independent skill and competence to the federal government. Now, Unlike the January 6th pardons or the weaponization of the Justice Department, I don't want to overstate the danger here. The civil service still exists, and these workers who were purged can fight their firings through the systems in place. Of course, it's unclear whether they'll win, and in the meantime, personally loyal Trumpists will run the day. But more to the point, future leaders might see a model they want to emulate and build on. If this purge sticks, yet another dark precedent will have been set, and the closer we will slouch toward a diminished republic, a damaged democracy, and authoritarian one-man rule. Good luck, America.